Hello YouTube. So today I'm going to be making a list of what I believe are the 5 most overrated characters in the game, including both 4 stars and 5 stars. Normally, I wouldn't include 4 stars and 5 stars on the same list like this, but I honestly don't think there's enough overrated 5 stars to make this list only 5 stars. Quick disclaimer, just because I think a character is overrated doesn't mean I think they aren't good. A character can be overrated and yet still broken at the same time. This list is also based entirely off my perspective and the things that I have personally seen. You may not have seen people overrate the characters on this list to the degree that I have, so your personal list would probably be different than mine. With that said, let's jump right into this. At number 5, we have Hu Tao. So, Hu Tao is only at number 5 because I feel like recently more and more people have started to realize how overrated she actually is. Still, there's quite a large amount of people overrating her still, so she makes the list still. Very often, I will see someone making a tier list or something like that, but Hu Tao placed a tier above most other 5-star DPS, because she has something special to set her above them, but she doesn't. I've even seen people make claims like Hu Tao is the only DPS that can realistically do over 1 million damage in a rotation, which is just not true. In fact, her best teams, those being Double Hydro, she actually doesn't hit 1 million personal damage. There are many other things causing people to overestimate Hu Tao as well. For instance, her stamina issues, even at Constellation 1, as well as her issues in AoE, tend to be heavily downplayed. For example, when playing Hu Tao in content where there are multiple spaced out enemies, you will have to use extra stamina to run to them, and spending any extra stamina on Hu Tao at all will cause her to quickly run out of it. And with AoE, I always hear people say that Hu Tao can just skewer through lined up enemies, but enemies don't always just line themselves up like bowling pins for that. Plus, Zinc and Yelan are single target, so even if you do manage to hit more than one enemy, they all may not actually have Hydro applied for you to even vaporize them. In addition to that, I feel like a lot of people don't realize just how much damage Hu Tao loses if she's above 50% HP, especially if you are using Staff of Homa. If she's above 50% HP with Homa, she will lose about 21% of her damage. With Zinc Show's damage reduction and micro healing, along with Hu Tao very commonly being paired with a shielder like Zhongli or Toma, makes it take quite a while to get and stay below 50%. Hu Tao is of course still a great character with very powerful teams, but she isn't this super exceptional character that she is made out to be. At number 4, I chose Yao Yao. Yao Yao might be a surprise to see here. She is very good with her ability to consolidate the role of Dendro Healer and Applier. But the thing is, that's basically all she does. Her Dendro application can be nice, but it only lasts for like 10 seconds. The targeting garnet can be a bit unreliable. Also, in order for her to heal the whole team, she needs to spend a fair bit of time on field with her burst, which can extend rotations and result in a noticeable DPS loss. These things alone wouldn't be enough for me to have put her on the list though. The real reason I put her here is because of how many people I've seen downplaying Baizu as a Yao Yao side grade, which is just silly. For starts, Baizu's buff is relevant in both Quicken and Quick Bloom teams, while Yao Yao's is useless anywhere other than in Quicken teams with an on-field Dendro DPS. Yao Yao also has a lower uptime on Dendro application than Baizu. Most importantly, she doesn't give you any form of interruption resistance at all, so I honestly don't get how anyone thinks Baizu is just a side grade to her. He's pretty much a direct upgrade. You can argue that Yao Yao works way better as solo Dendro than Baizu, but like, Yao Yao's Dendro application is not reliable enough to be solo Dendro in most teams anyway, other than like a Kaching or Yai Aggravate team. So yeah, Yao Yao is great, but people using her to Doom Post Baizu really makes her overrated in my eyes. At number 3, we have Ayaka. Ayaka being on this list shouldn't be a surprise. I've made my thoughts on how overrated she is quite clear, but to go back to those reasons, I think she is overrated because firstly, her team is comparatively very expensive to make as strong as other 5-star DPS teams. Ayaka, Kazuha, Shenhe, Kokomi is an all 5-star team. You also really want to have Mist Splitter on Ayaka. If she's using a weapon like Harbinger of Dawn or Amanoma instead of Mist Splitter, her damage drops by around 25%, which is a massive drop on a hyper carry. put into perspective how massive that is, under the standards that I calculate at, this drops her team's DPS down from about 70,000 to 56,000. But not only that, she also has a lot of practical issues, such as enemies that can't be frozen moving out of the reach of her burst. Ayaka's burst is about 51% of the entire team's damage, so whiffing that is just awful. Also, because the AoE hitbox of her burst isn't actually that good, even with Kazuha's grouping, her burst might still miss enemies in AoE. But yeah, Ayaka is very powerful when everything works out for her, but like Hu Tao, Ayaka is a character that people treat as being a tier above most other 5-star DPS, which is just not true. Number 2 is Zinc Show. Zinc Show is always better than Yelan. Stop coping! Yeah. Takes like that, as well as how many people I have seen claim that Zinc Show is the best character in the entire game, make him ridiculously overrated in my eyes. Is Zinc Show one of the best characters in the entire game? Yes, undeniably. I would say he's the best 4-star unit in the entire game. But how can anyone claim he is the best character in the game if he has an alternative, aka Yelan, that is better than him in a lot of scenarios? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's right. There are people that think Zinc Show is always better than Yelan. But, like, how? The most common defense I see people come up with for this is that Zinc Show has fast hydro application, higher uptime, and defensive utility. The first two things just straight up don't matter if his teams still end up doing less DPS than Yelan's teams. The only team I can think of where you actually need his level of hydro application is Hu Tao, but she still wants to use Yelan alongside him anyway. There is also Sino Quick Bloom with Baizu now, which is a team that I would say Zinc Show is definitely better than Yelan in, unless you have Yelan with Elegy and some constellations. And while Zinc Show's defensive utility can be great, it's heavily overrated these days. The defensive utility only matters if you actually need it. There are many teams that use Zinc Show alongside shielders like Zhongli or Thoma, and now even Baisu, in which case his defensive utility is significantly less valuable, and Yelan's offensive utility will often be more valuable. Also, I don't get how he can be claimed to be the best character in the entire game when Nahida exists, and she legitimately has no alternatives to her role, like Zinc Show does with his. At number 1, I have Kokomi. Whoo boy, I am probably going to make a lot of enemies for this one, but I've got a lot of enemies already, so fuck it, bring the smoke. Why do I think Kokomi is the most overrated unit in the game? Well, out of all the units on this list, I believe Kokomi is the one whose power level is the farthest away from what people state it to be. All the time, I see people praise Kokomi as being this incredibly high pull value, amazing universal support, even though neither of those two things are true. The reasons people use to make these claims about Kokomi mainly seem to be due to her having off-build AoE hydro application, good healing, and buffing with tenacity. But aside from Nilu Bloom and Ayaka Freeze teams, how many good teams actually want what Kokomi offers over something else they could be using instead? If you say Sukokomon, you are fired and you can Sukokon these nuts. Hyper Bloom, Quick Bloom, Vaporize, and even Virgin teams pretty much always want Yelan, Zinc Show, or even Ayato instead. Their hydro application is too slow for over Virgin. So that really just leaves Nyla Bloom and Freeze teams that want her. And she is good in these teams, I'm not denying that. It's a really good, solid role that she has. But I think we need to stop pretending that she's this amazing, top meta, high pull value universal support. She is absolutely not. It has zero pull value for anyone not intending to play a Freeze or Nyla Bloom team. But yeah, that just about covers my list. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my list, if you agree or disagree, and why. Please also be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks. Bye.